All right. Hello again. This is Chad Everett Brochures. I'm the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. And today I'm going to do a video on drama and gossip and why. Why is this prevalent? And now I read a lot. For everyone who follows this show, everyone who knows me in person or knows of me through some of my writings or videos or educational pieces, know that I am a fanatical lover of knowledge. I love to read. I love to learn. I love to give up what I think I know and to expand beyond whatever reality parameters that I've attached myself to at a younger stage. I'm a huge advocate for the scientific model, being that, please, I want to be proven wrong so I can develop further. And I'm also a huge advocate for my my loving little dogs to join in. A moment. Hey, you guys, come on. No. Time for the treatment. All right. Go. Get. You guys need to go. Lay down. Go on. Lay down. Thank you. Appreciate you protecting us. Thank you very much. Okay. Lay down, babies. Lay down. All right, the treatment was not necessary. They're actually protecting the home as they're designed to, or as they've been trained to. UPS, actually it was FedEx, delivered. Okay, so drama. For everybody that knows me, again, you know that I love to learn. I don't like to sit in the position of absolute facts in the sense that I've closed off what I know and I'm unwilling to grow or learn beyond that. I am absolutely open to continuing to experience new perspectives. So with that being said, all of that aside, this program and this channel is not in any way designed to replace a doctor of any nature or to remove or displace any medical device or prescriptions of any type or, advice. So now this is an inquiry into our development. That's what this channel is about. Excuse me. Okay, with that being said, let's move on to this. All right, so every single population that I've studied, and I have studied the Aborigines, the Inuit, Native Americans, all kinds of different populations in South America, African tribes, you name it. I'm an advocate for human development and behaviorisms. So I absolutely love these things. And I've recognized in every one of the populations that I've spent time learning about, all of them have the presence of drama. They all have the presence of gossip. Now, the two they're interlinked very closely. They're not exactly completely dependent on each other. They're independent of one another, but usually what you find when gossip's present, drama is as well. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's an absolute truth. It has to be. All right, they're very closely related. You can say they're twins, but they're not identical twins, put it that way, in the context of linguistics. So with this being stated, noticing this, there is a reason for this in our evolutionary development, why we even gossip. Now, this gives rise to my conversation on the consciousness and the developmental reasons for consciousness. Why do we have this conversation going on in our mind, or why do we feel anyway after we've made a decision about doing something, whether we feel joyful about making that decision or we feel kind of bad or shameful or bashful or taboo-ish about making decisions. So there's a consciousness value in this, and that consciousness value is directly related to whether or not you are accepted in your group and how you will be accepted. So you have your resume is the statement that you use to express yourself to others, but you also have your character. Now, in these smaller populations or these groups, the tribal groups, which we are still a part of a tribal group, being a large nation, that's a nationalism kind of position, which is us to another measurable group or quality of people, quantity of people. That's still a tribe. It's just a very large tribe. So the thing about having a larger group is you can kind of get away with nonsense a little bit easier because it's the more people that you can get too. You can use the idea of a psychopath or a serial killer, the way that they get away with what they do as easily as they do in a large population is because there is a value in being ambiguous in a group, or to not have a direct identity with a lot of knowledge about your character traits and all the rest of these things. So you can be observed by others that have the ability to identify particular traits that are, assigned to what we'll call psychopaths, sociopaths, or serial killers, or psychopathy to the degree of illness, or psychopathy illness. So with that, smaller groups, it's harder for a psychopath to actually exist. It doesn't mean that they can't. It's just harder because they're being watched easier. There's more people that actually have an awareness and a lineage value, a distance in time of knowing somebody. So it's harder for them to get away with it. So it's less likely to develop that particular character trait that is left in ambiguity. So now you see with this value system is part of the arisal of consciousness is you don't want to be ostracized for any reason. And being ostracized is an uncomfortable place because your resource pool that you depend on in your group or your tribe is being diminished because you have fewer people you can go to. Like in modern society, if you have a small group of people that know that you don't necessarily pay back your loans or your debts to them, or it may take time before you pay them back, that group of people may be less likely to, or almost certainly will be less likely to extend you a loan or to support you with a resource that you wish to be supported by. It doesn't always have to be money, but money's the easy one because most people are fixated on money. So in a small population, or even if you know a lot of people, but you aren't close to them, you're not going to go up to somebody you don't really know well and successfully borrow money or one of their precious resources, whatever it may be. Now, people have a default for altruism because group selection and group value is we're group creatures. We spend time in groups. We're pack creatures in a sense. We're large group pack creatures or whatever. There's a hierarchy that we all hold, and this is all prevalent and you'll recognize it. Once you recognize exactly what a hierarchy is, you'll be able to self-reflect and see hierarchy in yourself and your close group of friends and exterior group or secondary group of friends, and continuing to move out to people that you don't really know. And a lot of people have this belief that that there isn't these factors going on, or that they just kind of go through the experience of life without actually identifying these things. So they're basically letting life happen to them, not being a cause for their life. This is all key factors for gaining what we'll call success in life. Success in life, again, is also relative. So it's independent of the individual. It's completely dependent of the individual. So they're not, success for me is not the same as for you. Plus success is dynamic beyond 8 different categories and fields to what exactly success is. And it's a collage of concept. So with that being said, you are in a group to help succeed. You're in a group to help survive. Isolated confinement or isolation confinement is one of the penalties that we use in our penal system whenever somebody is misbehaving beyond already being punished for misbehaving. That is one of the worst punishments we can offer somebody that is accepted in a populace like ours, the United States, because it's non-harmful to the physical body, but it does great damage to the psyche of the individual. The longer they're in, the more emotional damage it does. And the reason for that is simply because an individual is dependent on the ones around them. It helps us stay centered into our paradigm, whatever we wish to live into as an ideology that we're based off of our experiences in life, as well as our desired belief system about the way life should go. So when we're separated from another, we are allowed to question, and we seek out questioning our own existence and some of the things that we have done and the reasons for being punished for that. And it continues to build into a position that we'll refer to as psychosis. I'm not a therapist, by the way. I'm not a psychologist, but I do have books on psychology. I'm fascinated by it, as well as I'm a big fan of Moshe Feldenkrais, Paul Chek, even Freud at times, but not too much on Freud by comparison to Feldenkrais. But everyone has value. Human behaviorisms, Dan Dennett, the great philosopher, they all give privilege to a new understanding and broader perspective of life. So I'm a big fan, but I'm not diagnosing anything, okay? So with that being said, we are completely part of a unit-based living creature. We live within groups. We live in close-knit groups is what we seek out. That's why we use the term intimacy, is for finding close-knit groups and identifying people that we wish to be intimate with. And intercourse in the sense of conversation is an intimate conversation portion. You are actually caring about the person's day, caring that they know how your day went, and so on. So this arises consciousness because gossip comes into play. Gossip is the unofficial version of who you are, but it's based off the expression and experience you put off onto another person. So if you've told or you behaved in such a way, so even a simplistic value on gossip, if you tell somebody you're going to do something and you don't do it, it prones that person to share that with other people that you're unreliable at certain times. And it may be that they may default unreliable altogether, depending on the depth that they know you, but also the depth they understand themselves. So if they don't understand themselves very well, they can't really know you very well because they don't know themselves to put a polarity, a basis of understanding that a bias is required in order to really create a higher understanding of everyone. So there is a bias of healthy selfish that's necessary to fully understand other people. You need to understand yourself. So it is egocentric, but it's egocentric to healthiness, right? To centered healthy. Now, whenever you tell somebody you're going to do something and you don't live up to it, it prones them to want to share with other people that you're incapable of following through. Now, I'm not saying that gossip as a whole. I'm speaking at gossip as a specific, because if you default, but there's this and but there's that, you're not listening to me. You're actually listening to yourself and your rebuttal without actually hearing my position. So now that gossip factor expanded a little bit more. There's habits people put into their behavior. Some people gossip because they get acceptance in their group very quickly and very easily whenever it's a close-knit group and people value what they have to say. They find that they are validated, and then they can actually overcome the uncomfortable level of not knowing somebody fairly quickly by simply getting into something that other people are seeking. We have a knowledge deficit about others that also is reflective of our knowledge deficit of ourself. The less you know yourself, the more you want gossip filled in about others to make you feel good about not necessarily knowing you. So if you do things that make you feel bad according to your consciousness, you're seeking out other people that have done similar acts, but you can join in the chastising of that individual that has done the same thing you have done. But it's easier to point at the other person and say, ha, 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 or, ooh, I'm going to stay away from you. But yet the relatedness is if you got with that person, you'd understand why they did it rather than passing the judgment ahead of time and then basically casting them to being ostracized. Now, if you want more further in-depth value on this particular subject, and there's many other values to the subject as well as the arisal of consciousness. Now, the arising of consciousness is actually mine. I've actually been formulating this for some time now. It's not a book that you can go and purchase that I know of yet that somebody else has spoken about it the way that I do. But you can find some of the architecture of this understanding in the book, The Origins of Morals. Very great book by Christopher Boehm. You can find him online. A great, great book. I'm still reading. I love this book, by the way. And it gives you a better understanding of developmental factors for human behaviors. Since we are primate, we are part of the primate species according to our genetic profile. We're extremely closely related to the chimpanzee and the bonobo, and then furthering down the line from different types of apes, gorillas and orangutans. We're still very closely related to these other primates, so we're cousins. So with that being said, we also exhiberate a lot of the value systems that of our primate relatives. So if you watch them in observation of how they behave in these close-knit groups, you'll start to see human characteristics if you're unfamiliar with the primate characteristics. You'll say, hey, I actually recognize that. Oh, and you'll see gossip in them. You'll see hierarchies in them. You'll also see that a lot of them have a hierarchy to achieve egalitarian position, meaning that the group survives at its strength by its weaknesses. So if you want a group to really thrive, you have to encourage the weaknesses to develop themselves rather than just continue to formulate the strengths and leave behind the weaknesses, because the group becomes a distant portion rather than a tight-knit vector. That's why we also feel the desire to share experiences and knowledge with others, or tidbits about the way things occur to help other people out in situations. You don't do it because it's a vacuum, that it just happens by default. You do it because of reciprocity. You wish for the return process. You wish to strengthen your bond with another person, which is the tribal value. Now, gossip is necessary because it is the unofficial character report. It is the unofficial resume. You didn't sign off on that resume, but your behavior did. Now, you may have said, I will do this without a doubt, no matter what, and you don't follow through. The more often that you do that, the more people recognize that about you, and the more prone they are to gossiping about you. First and foremost, you are responsible. It is not the person that is gossiping about you. You were ground zero of the effect. You started the motion for them to see you that way. Now, if they have background experiences, which nearly everyone does, I don't know anyone that hasn't had a background experience to base their belief or viewpoint off. So the baggage that they carry also leverages a system on you, so that they will talk about you in such a way because of past experiences. And you may be very free from the convictions they're putting onto you, but you are still part of the formula. Now, you see that this is a portion where you become powerful in your position. If you wish to be powerful with who you are and what you want to accomplish in this life, you need to stand in responsibility. First and foremost, if they're trying to infect someone else's baggage onto your character based off the fact that maybe they comb their hair like I do, maybe they have blue eyes like I do, maybe they happen to have a gray shirt with some white writing on their left breast, and you say, you know what, that's that asshole that I remember back in middle school that picked on me, or there's that know-it-all. You know, all of this nonsensical stuff. If you know that person has that capacity, or you hear that someone is gossiping about you in any way, it's not about attacking the gossiper. It's actually about going to the gossiper and finding out the why. If you want to be powerful, you need to turn people that are either in the middle without necessarily being in a camp for you, but they're not necessarily against you. They're just kind of there on the fence about you. Turning them into allies is one factor of helping you achieve any idea and desire you have for success in life. Another one is how to turn someone who's a perceived enemy against you towards you and become an ally. And how you do this, and by the way, the more allies you have, the more resources you have available. Now, conversely, it's also the more resources that you wish to also extend to more people, whether you are in the middle, the middleman, the connection, or the middle woman. And the connection to, you need this, I know someone who can help us with this. You still get some of the graciousness of making the connection. So your resources are not just in physical, tangible things, but they're also part of your relationships that you have. The more resources you have that are valid resources, the more likely you are to move up in the rankings of developing your success, or to achieving the idea of success that you have. You will find it in the population of the people. You will find it in those around you. Your life occurs around you. It is not here. Your life is out there. The same as my life is the witness of this video. My life is the people that are around me, that spend time with me. My life is for everyone that's in my life. They're the ones that tell the story of my life. They're the ones that actually will talk about the legacy of Chad. Everyone has a legacy, by the way. It's for you to be responsible for that legacy so you can best achieve what you wish to achieve, and also understand that other people will perceive you a certain way, and that therefore you can make a powerful life in such a way that other people give a damn about, one, contributing to you, and secondly, repeating your story. If you think that's not valuable, just imagine as if you died tomorrow and not a person remembered you lived. A memory is a repeat of who you are. It's how you affect somebody, the emotional attachment they have for you. Genetics aren't enough to hold full, fulfilling emotional attachments. It's the person in itself that makes the fulfillment of attachment, the fulfillment of character, the fulfillment of a human being that lived and a human being that actually made a difference. If you feel that that's not an idea of success for you, then your idea of success is not either clear, or you align yourself in another way. I'd love to hear from you if you do. But I would also encourage that anyone who's watching this that has comments, by all means, please share them. Now, this gossip it's not only in every group, but apparently it is a factor that is desirable. You just need to understand how to decipher gossip and powerfully work with gossip. Not become part of the gossipers. You have a choice. You become part of the gossipers, you are the one that has life happen to you. But if you are the one that actually powerfully disrupts gossip by going after the person being gossiped and helping them develop themselves or better understand what that gossip chain was about, so you can better help illustrate and illuminate what they've gone through, the challenges that they're having, the way that people are perceiving them. People are quick to judgment because they're very quick to judging themselves. So therefore, they will be quick to judging others, regardless if they like to admit to it or not. So with this being said, again, the gossip is a value, and let's actually utilize it to the best that we can. Okay, guys, I really don't want to cut this video any shorter than I have to, but I actually have a 12 o'clock appointment and a 30-minute drive time. So with that being said, this is Chad Everett Brochures. This is the host. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. And, you know, this is an episode on gossip and drama. So with that being said, please, by all means, share this. Share this as often as you like. Comment if you wish to get in touch with me in any way or to have any kind of back and forth or any kind of discourse of any nature. You can also email this to people by grabbing the link and going to an email address. You can also post it on Facebook or any other social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, Reddit, whatever the hell you want to put it on. And, you know, by all means, you know, feedback. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I look forward to our next video, and I hope that this is a great deal of benefit for you. Enjoy your day.